Hello and hope you're doing well. Welcome back to another Fortnite news episode. This being all around the World Cup qualifying as well as the World Cup event. The rule set has now been released. I will link it down below for all of you to read through. And on top of that, a few complaints out there, of course, from pro players, from streamers, people who are going to be trying to qualify for the event. I'm going to break down the event, the rule set so far for all of you, and give you my opinion on what I thought this event would be and why this will be the most competitive esports qualifying event in the history of esports. And along with that, if you guys have somehow not known about this, which I'm sure many of you guys do, the $30 million main World Cup event in New York in just 10 to 12 weeks time will be the single largest esports prize pool ever. Along with that, of course, each and every week for 10 weeks, we have 5 weeks of solo qualifiers, 5 weeks of duo qualifiers, $1 million each and every week for that. Leading up to the event, this is going to be the single most invested esport event of all time, and for that reason only, Epic is also, reducing the rule set out there, reducing restrictions. This will be the most populated qualifier we will ever see, and that's why I think the main complaint out there in terms of my complaints, pro complaints out there, is I would have loved to see an actual LAN qualifier lead to the World Cup. These are one of the few developers out there, one of the few organizers, especially with so much money on the line, to actually use an online qualifier, all online qualifying, to directly qualify people to the World Cup event, and that is why there have been tons of complaints, and probably deservingly so, about the event thus far. So breaking down the overall format, I actually do like what they did with what they were given. You got to think about this logistically. There was no way ever with this World Cup event being regionally across 10 weeks, across solos and duos, across 5 to 6 different regions. You have NA East and West and Asia and Oceania and then Europe and alongside others as well. There was no way logistically, I'll give credit to Epic for what they did here, to actually have a LAN event set up for each and every region for each and every week. I come from the CSGO scene and other esports as well. They definitely do a system where they have online qualifiers, usually lead to a minor qualifier, which is on LAN, and that minor then feeds a major system, which is also the bigger tournament on LAN. So that's what I would have loved to see here. We do some sort of online qualifier to thin the herd a little bit. You then do a regional qualifier or a minor system on LAN, and then that directly feeds into the World Cup. There's never a good format for what they did so far logistically in terms of each and every week having a competition. There's no way they could have hosted LANs all around the world in 6 different regions every single week. I understand that, but I would have loved to see if that's possible, especially with so much money on the line, to have an online open qualifier accessible to everyone who's just 13 years of age all around the world for this much money on the line is pretty ridiculous for standards. And along with that, just accessibility of this qualifier in terms of players who are probably joining Fortnite out of the blue just for this tournament as well. It's going to be the most competitive event in history, subpar to none, no doubt in my mind about that. The overall format though, I do like what they did with what they were given. If you guys do know, arena mode should be launching tomorrow in patch 8.2, and that's how players have access to try and qualify for the initial open qualifiers on Saturday. Then the top 3,000 players from whatever that weekly event's going to be, either solos and duos, will then qualify for Sunday. So each region will qualify 3,000 players, of course that being 1,500 duos as well for Sunday's event, and then Sundays where you can actually try and qualify itself for the World Cup. Now also, I think Nick Merckx did a great breakdown of exactly what is required of these players. It is so intensive to think about what these pro players have gone through so far, and the fact that it's an RNG game out there with probably millions and millions of players trying to qualify for this. The fact these players not only have to win, they have to play consistently and likely not stream the event, because you'd be pretty doomed if you do.
I just don't know if that makes sense to me. But then again, I don't have the exact stats and stuff that Epic has. I'm sure that there are a lot, I mean, they have a reason for doing this stuff, right? I just, the expectation to qualify for this World Cup is so much higher than I had thought it would be. I didn't know going into this that you were going to be required to win. Basically win. You have to win. I mean, that's just all there is to it. Like if me and Neil want to qualify, right now we're looking at NA West 1-1-1-1. So we have 5 weeks. We have 5 attempts, 10 game attempts. So 50 matches. We have 5 attempts at qualifying duo. And I mean, that is just, and we have to win.
Because on top of Nick Merck's clip, I did not grab this, but Tfue himself on stream made a great point about this. Even if you stream with delay by a weekly basis, let's say you stream with a 1 hour delay, that's pretty crazy, right? No one really does that. Either way, 1 hour into these 3 hour sessions, you're given a 3 hour session to play 10 games across these 5 weeks of solos and duos. So all in all, you could play a total of 100 maps if you're trying to qualify for each and every event, that being solos and duos. You're given a 3 hour session each and every week. If you even stream with a 1 hour delay, well, 1 hour in, you're going to see players eventually in your spot. So along with that as well, even if you do, let's say, a 3 hour full delay, you give away your spot entirely, and by week 2, when you're trying to qualify for solos, or week 3 when you're trying to re-qualify for duos, or vice versa again, you're going to see people probably take and mimic your spots eventually. So no matter what you do, I would advise, and I'm sure pro players and streamers know exactly what they're going to do about this, I would advise all entirely, if you really feel serious about trying to qualify, you wouldn't stream this event whatsoever. And we're going to probably see plenty of complaints about people who do stream and still see stream snipers, but you got to admit, when there's this much money on the line, this much trolling potential, there are going to be stream snipers, there are going to be cheaters, and those are two things we likely cannot avoid. Also, 3 other side notes about this. I think the prize format for these open qualifiers is pretty nuts as well when you think about the age restriction, which I have no idea how Epic has gotten the age restriction down to 13 years of age. Even FaZe High Sky, their newest member, can play. He's the size of my right leg, and he can actually compete for a chunk of $30 million, which is pretty insane to see. Along with that, though, being the actual, we're going to have solo events as well as duo event, the actual point format, I do agree with. It's a pretty generic point format. I hope for solos, I really hope for solos, they keep that top 25 placement getting points, because otherwise the late game is not really relevant. You can have players who play the entire game, and if they don't place top 15, if this point system does not go into effect, if they don't place top 10 or top 15, it's pretty much worthless, and I hate that format. So I hope top 25 in solos keeps getting some sort of points out there. And very lastly as well, besides the prize format as well as the point system, I think generally a pretty good format, but you're going to be forcing duos and solos to actually choose a region they play in. It's a soft region lock is what they're calling it right now. Each and every week you can actually play in a different region, but for that entire week you must stick in that region. So for duos out there, they got to choose between NA West or NA East, or of course if you're from Europe, you're going to go Europe, and every other region is not really going to be forced to make a choice. But if your duo partner is of course across the country from you over here in North America, you will have to make the split choice to choose between a server. You cannot bounce back and forth during the week, but of course each and every week you can actually change your region if you choose to do so. And these qualifiers are pretty nuts. Like Nick Merck said before as well, if you are in NA East or NA West, I mean, I guess any region so far as well, but especially NA East, you have to win. You have to be the single best team to actually grab a duo spot. So overall, what are your thoughts about this format? Leave a comment down below. I'm very curious what you guys think. I think all in all, Epic did what probably the best they could do with what they were given. Logistically, you know, speaking, I already broke down exactly why they couldn't do a LAN event, although with this much money on the line, you think they could have thought of some better format. I'm not going to complain too much about the point system, the prize format. I think those are, you know, pretty doable, what we've seen in the past so far. This is going down in history, though, as to probably be the most competitive qualifier of all time. This dev, being Epic Games, is now allowing the youngest players of all time in existence of games out there to compete, the most players of all time in existence of esports to compete, and the single most prize pool on the line for all of esports in existence to compete for. It's absolutely insane what they are doing. They need to be given credit for that. Of course, we're going to see plenty of complaints out there. I'm very curious what you guys, your thoughts are about this. What is the worst part about the format? What's the best part about the format? We are going to see these upcoming weeks some very, very competitive Fortnite. Will we see it on live stream? I hope not. I hope if you're trying to qualify, you're going to take it offline and do it by yourself and not, you know, deal with the stream snipers / cheaters and people stealing your spots. Either way, I hope you guys all enjoy. Back here tomorrow, hopefully to break down patch 8.2. As always, my name is Jake. Hope you guys all enjoy, and until next time, take care.